How's it going? Let's, hello. Hello. Ah. Get out of here. It's review time, Spence. We have to review for a very important test. I know, you don't seem to care. So, going to talk a little bit about evolution. Ooh, that's kind of bright. Going to talk a little bit about evolution. Try and keep this quick. Biggest things we focused on over the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you want to call it, is, evolution occurs to populations. Remember, evolution is just the simple idea that organisms and things change over time. The mechanism of how they change over time is something called natural selection. Natural selection is basically the idea of survival of the fittest. The one key thing that we tried to focus on in class, though, remember, is organisms don't change because they want to. Organisms change in response to an environmental change. So, for instance, if, like I've said many times in class, if there was a population of rabbits and it all of a sudden got really cold, well, if the rabbit population had a variation that existed already to help them stay warm, those rabbits with that specific mutation or whatever it was, those rabbits would do good, pass those good genes on to their offspring, and that population would continue to survive. The rabbits don't change themselves, though. They already had that trait. They just didn't need it until the environment changed. Once the environment changed, then that trait that already existed becomes important. Okay? Kind of like, roaches that are resistant to pesticides. That roach has always been resistant to the pesticide, but it doesn't become important until it gets sprayed with the pesticide. So it's not like it changed all of a sudden. It always had that. Okay. Remember the idea of speciation that we talked about this week? Speciation means when one species separates for some reason and becomes two different species that can no longer interbreed. Remember that the whole idea of a species? It's a group of organisms that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. So the offspring has to be fertile. They have to be able to have babies. Their babies have to be able to have babies. A couple questions. Let's go through some. 40 question tests, all multiple choice like normal. Very star-like questions. What will most likely happen to a characteristic that has a high survival value in a population? What's going to happen to that characteristic? The frequency of that characteristic is going to increase. Okay, if it's helping the population, that characteristic is going to increase. What life on Earth was around first? Do you think it was multicellular organisms or single-celled organisms? Most scientists would say single-celled organisms. So single-celled, then multicell, and then lots of multicellular. Again, fossils, be able to read which fossils are, older and newer. What it would suggest, kind of like the quiz question about what does a fossil suggest about a certain area. So there you go. All right. An organism exhibits a distinctive trait during its natural life. The species can evolve if the number of genes in the organism's reproductive cells increases. What does that have to do with evolution? The environment changes, forcing the organism's offspring to adapt. Future generations remain in the same environment, or the organism's reproductive cells hold the genetic code for the trait. Yeah. Remember, for a trait to be passed on, for a beneficial trait to be passed on to offspring, it has to be in the reproductive cells. Remember, Remember, bacteria have evolved over time to be more resistant to antibiotics. If evolution is happening slowly, you would say that's gradual. Okay, gradualism or gradual adaptations. It's happening really slowly, just some common terminology. There's one of the ocean, the fossils ones I was talking about. Mosquitoes that are resistant to pesticide. 10 years ago, there weren't very many of them. Now there's lots of them that are resistant. So again, what happened? Okay.
Subscribe to the channel and do good on the test.
There's a moth question: dark-colored moths versus light-colored moths. Again, according to the theory of natural selection, why are some individuals more likely than others to survive and reproduce? Some individuals are better adapted to their environments than others. It's pretty simple. What population of organisms would be in the greatest danger of becoming extinct? A population of organisms with few variations living in an unstable environment. Okay? So basically, if they're all the same, but their environment's constantly changing, it doesn't look so good for them. They're probably going to go extinct. More just general natural selection questions. Which of the following outcomes would you predict for a population of mosquitoes exposed to a new pesticide? Over several generations, the mosquitoes would become resistant to the pesticide. Sounds pretty good. Over several generations, the mosquitoes would evolve into several new species. Probably not. Over several generations, the mosquitoes would all be killed and become extinct. That would be awesome. Over several generations, the mosquito would be more susceptible to this pesticide. No, that means susceptible means it's going to hurt them even more. No, so that would be the first one. Again, kind of general natural selection. There's a lot of reading in this test, so you got to go slow, read carefully. It's kind of asking a lot of the same questions over and over, but just kind of different form. And you got to really be good on your reading. There's Cohen. Planes and Skylanders. Oh my gosh.
Hey guys.
These beetles here, okay? These beetles, this picture a long time ago there were more dark beetles, now there's more light beetles. Why is that the case? What most likely caused that population to change? There was a environmental change that occurred that changed the appearance. All right.
What's the test over?
Evolution. How things change over time. How animals and things have changed over time.
Cool.
Go read. Go do what you need to do.
I'm not reading. I'm just doing origami.
Oh, origami master.
I like skating. Running.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Now this video is going longer than I thought. Here's a good one. Disruptive selection. What is the result of disruptive selection? It's going to produce two or more groups that have different traits. So like the graph shows, after disruptive selection occurs, you see you have these two groups. How does natural selection produce change? Natural selection operates extremely rapidly to develop advantageous traits in what type of scenario? More natural selection. More natural selection. There's another graph. You got to read a graph. Which of these factors should be compared to the best? Which of these factors should be compared to best determine how closely species are related to each other? What would you look at? It's kind of like that amino acid little paper lab we did last week. You'd look at the sequence of their amino acids. How close those sequences of amino acids are would tell you how related two organisms would be. That's about it. That's all I'm giving you. I'll be there in the morning. No more mega lunch, sorry. So I'll be there in the morning if you need me. 7:45, I should be there. If you have any questions, shoot me a remind or Edmodo message, and I'll get back to you. So have a great night. Happy studying.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.